You should step in the shoes of the people that you are leading. You should be compassionate. You should be magnanimous. In other words, a big heart and forgiving. That's what leadership does. There is also humility, and I'll be coming back to that a little bit later when I talk about faith. But let me just go on. The others will come across at one point or the other. Leadership is necessary, and the Bible brings out very clearly what happens when there is no leadership. Listen to that verse in Judges, and you would have to read the entire chapter to get the proper context, or even the whole book. It says, in those days there was no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. Now just imagine a society where everyone is doing their own thing, and there is no leader who is marshaling all the different thoughts, who is bringing consensus to you. And everyone is doing their own thing. So we have a case here of a man called Micah and his mother. Now, Micah stole his mother's 1,100 silver pieces. This was money, if you wish. And there were no consequences whatsoever for what he did. The mother, on the other hand, rashly cursed the thief, not knowing it was her son. And when the son confessed, what they did was to take some of the silver pieces and turn them into idols for worship. Now, all of that began at the point where it says there was no king in Israel. So they were only doing what was right in their own eyes. But now it gets worse. What did Micah do? He then ordained his own son. He You lost me, isn't it? Sorry, you lost me, but let me just get it back. Okay. So what we have now is they were all doing their own thing. He ordained a Levite. The Levite was not qualified to be a priest. And actually, even Micah did not have the right to ordain a priest. But the priest was happy to take the job. Because after all, he was looking for where to get his own food.
Okay, I think Reverend is having a network break. So when he comes on, and if we still can't hear him, let's try and rejoin. It's just a network issue. I've seen a lot of concerns in the chat. I think it's network on his part, but let's just be patient with him. I'm sure he'll be joining us shortly. So if we lose him, we just wait a bit until he comes back. And then you also try to rejoin, just so we know it's not the network on your side. Okay.
Am I having problems with my internet?
Yes, Reverend, we have you back now.
Yeah. And I should be on the right one. Anyway, okay. I'm sorry about that.
That's fine.
Okay, so let us now try to understand the character itself. Character is the ethical and moral qualities distinctive to an individual, who you are. And these normally come out of what you believe, out of your moral principles, and they guide your behavior. So it's very important to understand this character because you actually behave and you do things because of your character. There are those values, those morals, those beliefs, which you yourself have a responsibility to change. And that's why it is important for us to be discussing this leadership and character. Character is not going to come to you genetically. Character is something that you yourself have a responsibility for, to grow your values so that you have the right kind of character. Okay? Some people have said, be yourself, everybody else is taken. Now, may I say, that is like saying you can be whatever you want. That just creates chaos. How universal is character? I want to say that in as much as it may be affected by customs, it may be affected by a lot of other things, character, what is good, is generally universal. Now, Martin Luther King Jr., who I'm sure many of you have heard of, the human rights defender who fought for the blacks in the US, he said the function of education, which you yourselves are having now, is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Okay? Why does he say intensively and critically? Intensity, in other words, think deeply, but also do not just imbibe, do not just take in what is said. So think critically. That's what he's saying. And he goes on and he says, intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. When education gives you the knowledge but does not give you the character, okay, I'm trying to interpret for you what Martin Luther King said. If it doesn't give you the character, then that education is not achieving the purpose for which you should be having it. Okay? So let us understand that it is important for you to have it. Character is your indispensable legacy. It is what you leave. When you retire, when you die, it is what people will remember about you. Today I was meeting a young man who lost his father recently, and I preached at the father's funeral. And just talking about him, you could see it's not about the tombstone. It's not what they write on the tombstone, beautiful as that may look. What remains in people's hearts is your character. It's your character when you die and when you retire. And you know, we're talking about him and some of the things he used to do and the kindness and so on and so forth. So your character and your name, understand them to be synonyms. What do I mean by that? If you tarnish your name, if you spoil your name, your character is also ruined. That's why Proverbs 22 verse 1 says a good name is to be chosen rather than great riches. And favor is better than silver or gold. In other words, choose a good name, choose character. Many of us, of course, when we study, want to become rich. But I want you to become rich. I also want to be rich. But I can tell you, wealth without character is not going to create a good legacy for you. So what is your legacy? What is your legacy? Shakespeare wrote in Othello, Act 3, Scene 3, and he said, good name in man and woman, dear my lord, is the immediate jewel of their souls. Who steals my purse steals trash. 'Tis something, nothing. 'Twas mine, 'tis his, and has been slave to thousands. But he that filches from me my good name robs me of that which not enriches him and makes me poor indeed. Just think about that. When you steal someone's good name, you are not richer for stealing it, and you're making the other person very poor. And this, I think, is very good to understand, especially when we slander or gossip about other people. You are not richer by gossiping or slandering. You are simply spoiling the other person. And that's what Shakespeare was saying. Your character is actions to or for those who can do nothing for you. And John Wooden here said, be more concerned with your character than your reputation, because your character is what you really are, while your reputation is merely what others think you are. But what is it that we spend most of our time concerned about? It's reputation. I want to appear good. I want people to think of me very well. I want people to see my car and to see my suit. I want them to know that I have been successful. And we are more concerned about that. And we forget it is your character that's more important. What people think about you does not last. So when we talk about character, character is that thing that we are urging you to cultivate in your closet, in the dark, in your private life. Because believe it or not, let me just give you an example. I read the scriptures, the Bible, on a daily basis. But if I do not, it would not form who I am, what I think, and it will eventually end up that my own life will not be able to follow the way that it should. You need to understand that your public life merely reveals your character. Okay? I give you some picture there of these young people, responsibility. Where does responsibility start? It begins from within, a commitment. I'm going to be responsible. Honesty, trust, integrity, courage. All these are things that begin in the closet. They don't begin by what you do outside. I remember in the 1990s, one female member of parliament in Uganda here, who publicly, and it was in the papers, lambasted the MPs for their sexual indecency. And then a state minister replied. I was really ashamed to hear a minister say this. But the minister said, one's private sexual relations have nothing to do with the leadership. You can be a good leader irrespective of your private sexual life. I'm wondering, what do you think about such a statement? Personally, I would say he is wrong to say that. My private life flows into the public. Okay? The Bible testifies to that again and again. Okay. So we change gears a little bit and ask ourselves, why are we doing a course unit in leadership and character? First of all, a university education that you are getting makes you a leader. I realized this soon after I graduated, that actually people were looking up to me because I had a degree. You are already a person of influence the moment you finish your studies. And therefore, it's important that the influence you take out there should be a sharpened arrow, as I call it here, targeted to speak what is true and to do what is true, what is right, and what is good. Character forms the foundation for a leader's judgment and decision-making and behavior. If the person has no character, the person will judge anyhow. Moreover, character is what gives moral authority. I do remember talking about one leader with a young girl who was working in the same institution. And when I mentioned his name, she made a comment and she said, oh, that one, his life is a public secret. Now, you know what that means? Because you have no character, you will have no moral authority. Even when you have commands, even when you instruct other people, they may do it, but they despise you. You have no moral authority. Authority is not simply the instructions you give. Authority actually is what goes with your instructions. Fourthly, effectiveness in leadership is built on trust. Trust between you and the people that you lead. I mentioned here things like predictability, dependability, and consistency. These are things that motivate people that you lead to place their confidence in you. Okay? Fifthly, your character role models for your followers, right and acceptable conduct. And I can tell you, I've given you the example of that young girl who said his life is a public secret. And one of the things that came out of his leadership is that the people in his office were actually conducting themselves without integrity. Without integrity. So you must know that when you're in a position of leadership, a good character is what role models for the people that follow you. Honesty, integrity, and ethical behavior. These are the things that will inspire others to do the same. Your character helps to navigate the difficult situations also. As Colin Powell said, leadership can never run away from solving problems. And I can tell you that in many decisions that you make in the position of leadership, as one who has been in leadership and continues to be in leadership, when you make that decision, you better have the right values. You better have the right morals, the right morals, the right ethics. Good character makes decisions in the best interest of the organization and the employees, rather than for self-interest. I have seen leaders who all the time are trying to find a way to serve their own interests. Those are not leaders, okay? They have no character. They may be thought to be leaders, but actually they have no character. Good character Are you hearing me?
We can hear you now, Reverend. We had lost you for a second, actually.
Okay, I don't know what's happening. Okay, so good character improves organizational culture. And then, of course, the of the organization. I'm sure you do have cases of a leader who has failed in character, and they also have an office heading an organization, and immediately people start looking at it. The worst is when it is the church. But of course, it is the same with anything else. Your good character, when you are in the position of a leader, you are carrying the reputation of the organization you lead or the people that you lead. It will either attract respect, admiration, and the external market, or the opposite. So we need to be very careful. Now, as we relate leadership and character, let us understand that all the key desirable traits, leadership traits, are character qualities. I give you an image here. You look at them. But on the other hand, you see accountability. It's a character thing. A commitment to that integrity to be accountable. The collaboration with other people. The courage, the drive, the humility, the integrity, the judgment, the justice, and so on. You can go on and on. Like I said, we cannot finish them. But many people think that leadership needs charisma. Charismatic leadership without character is actually catastrophic. Because what charisma does is to attract and to influence and to connect and to communicate well with people. And indeed, people may raise you up. But when you are up there, the only thing that will keep you at the top will be character. The moment you lose it, you will fall. And you'll fall very bad. Character keeps a leader sober, focused, and humble. Leaders with strong values and high character seem to be in short supply today. Most notably, I say, in politics. It's very sad. And many of us, actually, when we talk about politics, we kind of think that politics is dirty. The problem is we don't have good leaders in politics. And I would say to you, the students, the young people, please consider to go into politics. But before you do, get character. Get a good character. Leaders without character, strong values, they make decisions they make poor decisions because of being indecisive. Because if you don't have values on which you stand to make the decision, you are kind of just gambling. What should I say? What should I do? A leader should stand for what they believe in. It's very, very important. If not, he will cave into the values and principles of others. He will be carried by what others actually say and do. Weak character submits to the interests of others. Okay, I'll go to the second one because I think I've already talked a little bit about that. Good leaders know their values. For good values and principles are not negotiable to the situation and people involved. They do not buy you. When you're a good leader, you don't buy influence. This is not the issue you're concerned about. I remember when I was in the position of vice chancellor, like I said, that was manager and leadership. Some very, very important people in government who would come and they think that I'm going to bend the university policies. I said, no, I can't. I don't buy influence, no matter what you'll do for me. Okay? I cannot allow that. So the strong values that you hold are the ones that will light the path for you in all the things that you do, the decisions, the choices, whatever you do. Now, this is another Martin Luther, the reformer, the one who started the Protestant Reformation. And that is, I think, in the 17th century, 15th, 16th, 17th century. I can't remember exactly. He was urged to renounce his teachings or face excommunication or death by the Roman Catholic Church. Listen to what he said, because he was a man of character. He said, I cannot and will not recant, because acting against one's conscience is neither safe nor sound. Here I stand. I can do no other. God help me. That's what Martin Luther said. And I wish that all of us would be able to make the same kind of statement. That you have a stand. Character always makes a stand. And that's why every leader needs to be a person of character. Then you can make a stand. You can say, here I stand. I'm not going to change. Even if it is people above you who are telling you to change, you don't do that. Now, a leader's decisions will always create winners and losers. They always do. There are many decisions that you have to make, which decisions some people will be happy about, others will not. Now, listen to what someone he said. If you change nothing, nothing will change. So that doesn't mean you draw back. But like he says here, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. Good leaders know what hard decisions will upset some people. Whether you like it or not, some people, you can never be in leadership and say all people will be pleased all the time. There will come times when some of them will be unhappy with your decisions. That does not change. If you have strength of character, you have strength of values. Now, I must come now to this final part, which is genuine faith in God shapes virtue. This is a well-known thing, but sometimes we don't talk about it. Ralph Waldo Emerson, an author, a humorist, and so forth from the US, he said, great men are they who see that spiritual is stronger than any material force, that thoughts rule the world. Why was he saying that? Because the spiritual life of a person has the strongest influence on how the person lives and walks or conducts themselves. So I'm saying that faith in God is actually the compass that puts the knowledge and service of a leader in perspective. Because when you know that God is in control of your life, in control of your leadership, then it helps you to understand. First of all, in your service, you're serving Him, you cannot underperform. But also, you cannot take credit that's not yours, and that is the excesses. Faith makes the leader a steward with godly qualities. So you know that you are merely a steward. Now, with faith, God guides the leader's decisions and deeds and relationships. In other words, when you have faith in God, it shapes the choices, it shapes the values, it shapes the principles, it shapes who you are. And then you can be the kind of leader that is needed. Faith in God grounds your character in the unchanging, and listen to that word, unchanging, biblical values and principles, instead of submitting to the loudest voices which demand acceptance. Okay? True character lights the path to strong decisions. I don't know how many of you are familiar with this lady, Sister Mother Teresa. She passed away, of course. But Mother Teresa is of Calcutta, I think that's what most people would know her as, went among the poor. She was not an Indian, but she went and worked among the poor, changing their lives. Why? Because of her faith. Faith makes a big difference. Now, there are many people out there who think faith and leadership, they are not connected. Let me just show you what this man here, an agnostic, Matthew Paris, actually said. And he was a member of parliament in the UK. I think he still even lives. And I'll read through it very quickly, maybe not everything. He says, I have become convinced of the enormous contribution that Christian evangelism, listen to that, someone who is an agnostic. And by the way, he was not converted even when he said this. He said, Christian evangelism makes in Africa, sharply distinct from the work of secular NGOs, government projects, and international aid efforts. These alone will not do. Education and training alone will not do. In Africa, Christianity changes people's hearts. Now, he thinks it's only in Africa, but actually Europe was changed by Christianity. It brings a spiritual transformation. The rebirth is real. The change is good. And he says, this is a real confession from him. He said, I used to avoid this truth by uploading as you can the practical work of mission churches in Africa. He said, Peter, I would say that salvation is part of the package, but Christians, black and white, working in Africa, do heal the sick, do teach people to read and write, and only the severest kind of secularist could see a mission hospital school and say the world would be better without it. Now, do you hear the flow of what he's saying? Let me go to the last sentence. The last part there. But this, faith does more than support the missionary. It's also transferred to his flock. This is the effect that matters so immensely and which I cannot help observing. This man, an agnostic, he was able to see that faith is necessary for the transformation of a society. How much more for the leader then? So godly character then becomes absolutely necessary. That's when you become an effective leader. And effective leadership is more than just achieving goals. It is also how you achieve them. Because there are many people who cut corners and try to do different ways of achieving the goals. But when you are a good leader, when you are a person with a godly character, you are as much concerned how those goals are being achieved. A leader's character, the values, the integrity, the moral compass, shape their decisions and actions and influence how they interact with and inspire others. The relationships themselves are affected when you have a godly character. And what I'm saying to you, my dear friends, is that aim at having a godly character. George Bush, former president of the United States, the late, the older, he said, leadership to me means duty, honor, country. It means character, and it means listening from time to time. And John Maxwell, who also, as I told you, passed away a few weeks ago, he said a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. In other words, walks in the shoes of the people that they are leading. The people that they are leading. Okay? And I'll just run through this. It is still going on now for the godly leadership and the issue of faith. And Bruce Winston, who is a professor at Regent University in the United States, talked about the 4 C's of Christian leadership. One is calling, is what you are doing, what God has called you to do. Have you actually taken time to ask yourself if you're in the right place? 2, competence, to do everything as a service to the Lord Jesus. Many times, even when we are subordinates, we work as if we are only satisfying the supervisor above us. Can we understand that it is important we are serving the Lord Jesus? Confidence, to have the assurance you can do it by yourself. Of course, assured of God's help. Have confidence. And then, of course, character. He mentions it. And that's the one that we are talking about mostly. Living a life according to biblical character values. Okay? So, to move on, seeking leaders, finding managers. What am I talking about? Many organizations, when they are hiring someone, they tend, most organizations subconsciously need leaders, but actively seek and interview and hire managers. But when it comes to evaluation, then they evaluate those managers as leaders. So why not look for leaders in the first place? And I'm saying to you that if you are to be a good manager, leadership then is what you should be more concerned about. And then learn the skills of a manager. Organizations tend to focus on competence, a necessary leadership and managerial attribute. However, a leader's competence without character is demonic. Leadership may give you the position, but without character, you undermine your moral authority. We have already talked about it, and your influence. Leaders with the character are the ones that are secure. I'm sure you may be familiar with some of the leaders who are insecure, and all the time they are trying to oppress others, or they are using coercion to earn a following. That should not be. If you have a character, people will just respect you. You know, sometimes when leaders are feared, they think they are actually respected. But the two are very different. Okay? And then the final one, the core traits and character of a Christian leader. I've already shown you a few of these, but you do have self-discipline. To control others, you must have self-control yourself. You need to be creative. Develop the ability for original thinking. You are a university person. And if there is anything that university does, as we even heard from Martin Luther King Jr., it's to teach you to think. Objectify your mental ideas and dreams. Then if you're in a position of leadership, learn to delegate. The team that is given you is given to you so that they may support your work. But of course, the final responsibility is always yours. So as you delegate, you must be clear what you're delegating. Be very clear what exactly you're delegating, but don't delegate away the leadership chair. Be decisive. No equivocation or vacillation or procrastination. This whole business of, and you're unable to make a decision. Be sure of your information. Get all the information you need and decide confidently. Do not pass the buck. Persistence. Great tasks do not come like a light bulb. You need to be able to work in the same direction consistently. There are many examples of inventors. What have they done? They have kept on and kept on and kept on and kept on. And it's the same thing also with leadership. But of course, there must be also a balanced life. And I say here, God created family first and then work. I used to tell people at the university when I was in leadership, and I would tell them that for me, if I lose the job, I may be able to find another one. But if I lose the family, I won't find it. If I lose my wife, I can't find another one. So everything is replaceable except your family. Have a balanced life. Learn to balance your life. And finally, faith and the Christian disciplines of prayer, God's word, fellowship, ministry. Avoid falling in your leadership in these areas. Do not keep up appearances. If you're not growing in your prayer life, if you're not growing in God's word, in fellowship, in ministry, I'm sorry for you, you are actually going down the drain. So if you're a leader, ask yourself, why should people listen to you? Why should people listen to you? Are you the kind of leader people will listen to, or people will close their ears? So thank you very much, and may God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Reverend Canon Dr. John Senyonyi. This was really a good overview. And I was telling myself, if this is an overview, this simply means that there is more to this topic. And I just want to thank you also for always being with us. We continue to learn from you. And in the house also, I've seen this Canon Dr. Ruth Senyoni. You're most welcome. Thank you also for joining us in the house today. So I see a lot of comments. I initially thought I'll be able to read a few, but there's a lot of comments, appreciative comments. And I would like to say there are some that have, written questions. So what we have done, we have taken note of all the questions that have been asked. So we are going to address this. Usually we have a question and answer session. So these are questions that have been sent and many more that we're going to have in the subsequent sessions will be addressed in one session. So please do not feel like my question has not been responded to. All questions will be answered when that time comes. And I want to also say I've seen people are asking for notes. So we do not share notes for this course unit, but we have a YouTube channel. I think the link has been sent. Thank you, Mr. Gift. So there's a YouTube channel. Please just click on it. It will take you directly to the recording. And there you will find many other recordings that have been done before. So also like the ARA has said at the beginning of the session, this course unit is examinable like any other course unit. So when the sessions are going on, please feel free to jot down notes. And also feel free to just go to the YouTube channel, just click on the link, like and subscribe the channel, and you will be able to enjoy a lot of lessons that we have learned from that session. So no notes, please just follow through to the to the link that we have. So also to note that we also have a WhatsApp group where all this communication is usually sent. I've seen Mr. Gift has already shared. It's written chat WhatsApp. So for any communication regarding this course unit and any other related institution updates, we also share them. So please just click on the link. You'll be able to simply join in, and then you'll be a part of the student fraternity that we have on that particular link. Okay, and maybe just before we go, allow me to also call upon the ARA. I think the ARA has some communication also to give us the closing remarks and also to give that communication that he has to us. And so to remind us that we are here every Wednesdays, 8 to 9 p.m. That is East African time. So in case you have forgotten, we use the same link every week for the rest of the semester. So the link doesn't change unless otherwise we will be able to communicate. So use the same link, share it in your classes. Each time it's Wednesday, we expect that everybody is going to be able to join us on this particular platform. Thank you so much once again to our facilitators. And right about now, allow me to call upon the ARA to give us the closing remarks as well as the communication.
Okay, thank you so much, Tawera, for the opportunity once again. And I want to take this opportunity to thank our facilitator, Reverend Canon Senyonyi, and Dr. Ruth in the background. Thank you so much. You've shared an insightful message, and I know I've been following here from the chat. Students are appreciating. I want to thank you so much. And I want to urge all the students to continue attending these sessions because they will help us not only to pass our exams, but also to shape our morals. Because one person saying that, yes, academic qualifications can earn you a job, but it's only the character that will keep you at that place of work. So yes, you are pursuing your academic credentials, qualifications, you're going to get those papers, wonderful classes, first classes, second class, blah, blah. But what will keep you there, the place of work after getting the job, it is the character. So therefore, we should not only target passing the exam at the end of the semester, but we should also interest ourselves to shape our character. Thank you so much, Dr. Kanoni, and please keep it up. Thank you, Tawera. Now, in the interest of time, there is a student called Regan. Yeah, he's one of your leaders. I request that you give him a few minutes, like 2 or 3 or 4. He wants to brief you on something small, and then we shall get back to you, Tawera, and we adjourn the meeting. Thank you. Regan, are you on? Regan?
Yes, please.
Yes, go ahead, use a few minutes, and then we adjourn the meeting.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Daniel. Thank you so much, Towera, and all our presenters. It has been an insightful session today, just like all the years we've been attending. My name is Regan. I'm Pile Regan, and I'm the ECUMISA president. ECUMISA is Ernest Cook University Medical Imaging Students Association, and we are a student-led body founded to unite all students, all imaging and radiography students at Tekirei. What we do is, we aim to contribute to bridging the gap between, classroom learning with the real-world experience. As you know, imaging and radiography is a practical and hands-on session. So among the initiatives and what we aim to do and continue to do is the case presentations. For a good number of years, they've been here at Tekirei, but somehow, for some years, there was a lapse. And this year, we are reviving those case presentations. For our freshmen and fresh women who may not know what case presentations are, these are when you're assigned to go in clinical practice, is we select, those cases that we find interesting and come present them to the rest of our students. So effective next week, we shall be sending you more information, how you can be part of this, how you can contribute, how you can participate, and all that. So for now, ready yourselves and be sure that case presentations are coming back, and we hope that they will be so much insightful and they will contribute more to the learning process. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Regan, back to you, Tawera, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, the ARA. And so that is what we had for all of us today. Till next week. Allow me to also say thank you to top management, the entire administration, our lecturers, the alumni that are in the house, the guild, and the entire student fraternity. Thank you for joining. We will meet next week at the same time. Have a blessed evening. Good night.
Good night. Stay.
Good night.